This is a Sales Geek Academia to business translation production. You know that feeling, right? That moment when you're looking at a sales target that just feels impossible. Or maybe you've been working that one prospect for ages and they just will not budge. It takes something special, doesn't it, to just keep going? Well, today we're going to dive into what that something special is, looking at some really groundbreaking academic research. We're doing a deep dive into grit in the sales world. We've got this fantastic new paper here from the Journal of Personal Selling and Sales Management. It's called Gritting Their Teeth to Close the Sale. The Positive Effect of Salesperson Grit on Job Satisfaction and Performance. Quite a title.
It is, and what's really significant here is that this research is actually the first to look at grit specifically in a B2B, a business-to-business sales context. Yeah. So our goal, our mission today is really to translate these academic insights, cut through the jargon,
Yeah.
and give you, the sales leader, clear, actionable strategies, things you can actually use to build a more effective, more resilient, and importantly, a more satisfied sales team.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because we hear a lot about natural talent, don't we? That idea of the born salesperson. But this research, it seems to be focusing on something quite different. So what is grit exactly in this sales context?
Well, fundamentally, the paper defines grit as perseverance in pursuit of long-term goals. So it's not about being, naturally charming or having the gift of the gab. It's much more about that relentless drive, that ability to keep pushing forward, especially when success doesn't come easy.
Like those reps who just seem to bounce back from rejection.
Exactly. They treat a no as, maybe just a step towards getting a yes. It's that endurance, like a marathon runner, not a sprinter.
That makes a lot of sense. We've definitely all seen reps like that. So why is grit especially important for salespeople, particularly in B2B?
Right. Well, B2B selling, it's a different beast, isn't it? You're dealing with frequent rejection from buyers, and these buying cycles can be incredibly long.
How long are we talking?
Oh, easily 18 to 24 months sometimes, even longer for really complex deals. Yeah. So imagine trying to keep your motivation up, your focus sharp for maybe 2 years on just one account, facing setbacks along the way. That environment just demands grit. It really does. Only those salespeople who can genuinely persevere towards those long-term goals, hitting quota consistently, developing that key account, closing that massive deal, they're the ones who survive and ultimately thrive. And this research really focuses on the perseverance aspect of grit, more so than just having consistent success. It's that sheer determination.
Okay, and the research actually found a clear connection, didn't it, between grit and actual results?
Oh, absolutely. The study clearly shows that gritty salespeople, they perform better. And they also report much higher job satisfaction compared to their less gritty colleagues.
Perform better and are happier. That's huge.
It is. And it leads directly to the big question for sales leaders, right?
Can we build it?
Exactly. If grit leads to better performance and happier reps, can we actually develop it in our teams? Or is it just something you're born with?
That really is the million-dollar question, if we can foster it. Wow. So the paper points to two key building blocks, self-efficacy and competitiveness.
That's right. Those are the two main antecedents, the things that lead to grit. Let's start with self-efficacy.
Okay.
It sounds a bit academic, maybe, but it's basically a salesperson's belief in their own ability to do their job well, to handle specific tasks effectively.
So confidence in their skills.
Pretty much. That inner feeling of, I can handle this. And when salespeople have that high self-efficacy, they tend to set higher goals for themselves. And, crucially, they persist longer when they hit obstacles. They don't give up as easily.
Right.
There was a good example in the study, actually, with salespeople at a financial services firm. The ones with high self-efficacy, if they failed, say, lost a deal, they were more likely to blame it on maybe not putting in enough effort rather than, a lack of talent.
Okay, so they take ownership.
Exactly. And then this is the key part. They'd actually increase their effort afterwards. They'd try harder next time. That belief that you can overcome failure by just persevering more, that's a real sign of grit.
That link between belief and action makes perfect sense. But you mentioned it gets a bit more complex. Self-efficacy isn't the whole picture.
No. It's not. The study found something else that acts as a sort of amplifier, what they call a moderator. It's social astuteness.
Social astuteness. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It's basically being savvy, being able to read social situations accurately, understand the underlying currents, the politics maybe, and then adapting your behavior effectively.
So reading the room.
Exactly. Knowing when to push, when to hold back, when to change your approach entirely based on those subtle cues you pick up from the customer or the situation.
Mm.
And the research found that while self-efficacy on its own definitely helps build grit, its positive impact is massively boosted when the salesperson is also socially astute.
Okay, so how do they work together?
Well, think about it. A salesperson who's confident and can read the situation well. They don't just blindly persevere, they know how to persevere effectively.
Mhm.
They can tell if their current approach isn't landing, maybe the client's getting restless.
They see the eye roll.
Precisely. And instead of just pushing harder with the same tactic, they adapt. They pivot. They ask a different question, maybe address an unspoken concern. So their grit isn't just stubbornness, it's intelligent persistence. It's directed effectively towards the goal because they understand the context. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really powerful combination. Okay, and the second building block was competitiveness. That feels pretty intuitive for sales.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the paper defines it pretty simply. The enjoyment of interpersonal competition and the desire to win and be better than others.
Okay.
And unsurprisingly, the study found this strongly fosters grit too. Competitive salespeople, they're always kind of looking at how they stack up against their peers, right? And because they want to win, they naturally put in more effort. They focus intensely on their goals beating a rival, hitting the top of the sales chart. And that extra effort, that focus, it helps them push through all the rejection that's just part of the job in sales. So that competitive drive fuels their persistence, helps them overcome the obstacles.
Right, so we have self-efficacy boosted by social astuteness and then competitiveness. These build grit, but you mentioned a potential dark side.
Yes, this was a really interesting and maybe slightly unexpected finding. The paper talks about the need for power.
Need for power. Okay, that sounds potentially problematic in sales.
It can be. And it raises that important question, can a good thing like grit actually backfire sometimes? Now, the way the research defines need for power isn't about wanting a promotion or formal authority. It's more of a psychological thing, a desire to influence others, to control outcomes, and importantly, a real dislike of being influenced yourself.
So it's about dominance, maybe? Control?
Kinda, yeah. Feeling pleasure from impacting others and resisting influence coming the other way.
Okay. So what happens when you combine that with grit? How does it affect actual sales performance?
Well, the study found that a high need for power can actually weaken the positive effect of grit on performance. It sort of undermines it.
How so?
Think about a gritty salesperson who also has this high need for power. They might become so focused on, say, dominating the conversation or pushing their agenda, maybe even manipulating the buyer.
Right, they become too aggressive.
Exactly. Or they just fail to listen. They don't uncover the customer's real needs because they're too busy trying to control the interaction. And sales, especially complex B2B sales, needs that two-way street, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You need empathy, collaboration sometimes.
Absolutely.
A purely dominating approach just shuts that down. It can alienate the customer, make them feel pressured. Pestered was the word used.
Pestered, yeah.
And ultimately, even though the salesperson is being gritty and persistent, their approach is wrong because it's driven by this need for power, not by solving the customer's problem. So their grit becomes less effective.
That's a really crucial distinction. It's not just about being gritty, but how that grit is directed.
Precisely.
Okay, so beyond performance, the paper also looked at job satisfaction and something called job embeddedness. How does grit fit in there?
Yes. So grit was shown to have a direct positive impact on job satisfaction. Greedy people seem to find more meaning in the struggle, in overcoming challenges, so they get satisfaction not just from the win, but from the actual pursuit, which means they tend to have higher psychological well-being even when things are tough.
That makes sense. And the job embeddedness part, that sounds important for keeping good people.
It's critical for retention, absolutely.
Yeah.
So job embeddedness is basically how connected or tied someone feels to their job and the company, how likely they are to stay.
Right.
What the study found was really interesting. Job satisfaction fully explains the link between grit and job embeddedness.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It means that just being gritty doesn't automatically make a salesperson feel embedded or loyal to the company. However, if a gritty salesperson also feels high job satisfaction, maybe because their grit helps them succeed, or they feel valued for their perseverance, then they are much, much more likely to become embedded and stay long-term.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you need both grit and satisfaction for retention.
Exactly. And considering how incredibly expensive salesperson turnover is, mean, the costs are often really underestimated.
Huge costs, yeah.
This insight is vital. It tells us it's not enough just to hire gritty people. You have to create an environment where their grit actually leads to satisfaction. That's the key to keeping them.
This has been incredibly insightful. Okay, so let's bring it all together. For the sales leaders listening right now, thinking, okay, this is great theory, but what do I do? We've boiled this down to 3 key actionable takeaways, right? Things you can start implementing pretty much immediately.
Yes, absolutely. 3 practical things based directly on this research. First, recruit and assess for grit and its antecedents. When you're hiring, obviously look at experience, but go deeper. Use those pre-hire assessments if you can, ones that measure grit, self-efficacy, and that healthy competitiveness we talked about.
Yep.
But also use the interview itself. Ask questions designed to uncover evidence of grit in their past. Don't just ask, are you gritty? Ask about specific times they face major setbacks, but push through to achieve a long-term goal. Look for real-life examples.
Like what kind of examples?
Things like maybe competitive sports at a high level, military service, maybe working multiple jobs while studying, overcoming significant personal obstacles. These experiences often build resilience and demonstrate grit in action. Dig for those stories.
Okay, so hire differently. What's number 2?
Number 2, train and coach to build self-efficacy and social astuteness. Remember, grit isn't entirely fixed. You can influence its building blocks. So invest in ongoing training, not just one-off sessions. Training that specifically aims to boost your team's confidence in their ability to handle tough sales situations. That's the self-efficacy piece. Think negotiation skills, advanced objection handling, maybe understanding buyer psychology.
Right, build their confidence.
Exactly. And then pair that formal training with really focused coaching and mentorship on social astuteness. Help them learn to read the room, pick up on nonverbal cues, understand hidden agendas, and adapt their strategy on the fly.
How do you coach that?
Role-playing is fantastic for this. Use realistic scenarios, throw in curveballs, make them practice adapting their approach in real time. Give them feedback on how well they read the situation and adjusted their persistence.
Makes sense. Practice makes perfect, or at least better. Okay, and the 3rd takeaway.
Third, cultivate healthy competition, but beware the dark side. Competition can be a great motivator and help build grit. So foster a professional environment where healthy competition thrives. Things like, leaderboards, winners' circles, maybe an employee of the month, ways to recognize and celebrate top performance.
Okay, encourage competition.
Yes, but, and this is crucial, you have to balance it. You absolutely must be mindful of that need for power dark side we discussed. Watch out for salespeople who become overly aggressive, who steamroll clients, who seem more focused on winning against the customer than winning with them.
So identify those potentially problematic reps.
Identify them and coach them. Model the right customer-centric behaviors yourself. Constantly reinforce the importance of collaboration and genuinely helping the customer. Channel their competitive energy, their grit, towards achieving company and customer goals, not just personal dominance. Keep the competition healthy and focused on the right outcomes.
That's a really important balancing act for a manager.
Okay, this deep dive really paints a clear picture, doesn't it? Sales success isn't just some innate talent. It's so much about that consistent, tenacious pursuit of long-term goals and understanding what builds that grit and also what can unfortunately undermine it that really gives you, the sales leader, the tools to build a team that's not just high-performing but also resilient and, well, happier.
Exactly. And remember, the research suggests grit is malleable. It can be developed. As a leader, you genuinely have the power to foster it in your team, which leads to better performance, higher satisfaction, better retention. It's a powerful lever. So as you think about all this, maybe reflect. What's the single biggest opportunity you see to apply these ideas in your own team? Starting, maybe even this week.
This has been a Sales Geek Academia to Business Translation production.